There comes a moment in every life when the silence grows louder than the noise, a moment when the mirror no longer reflects just your face, but your decisions. When you realize the world wasn't holding you back, you were. Not your job, not your past, not your family, but the voice in your head you've been listening to since you were a child. You weren't born average, you were programmed to be. And unless you learn to rewire your mind, you'll keep living in a reality built by someone else's fears, someone else's failures, someone else's beliefs. And that reality? It doesn't care if your heart is full of dreams, because your mind is still full of doubt. The truth is this: every person you admire, every name etched in the stone of history, every billionaire, visionary, and world shaker, they didn't just have discipline or talent. They had the courage to reprogram the system that raised them. They deleted fear like a corrupt file. They rewrote failure as fuel. They trained their thoughts like soldiers, because they understood something most people never will. If you don't control your mind, it will control you. And a mind controlled by fear stays broke. Belief, the origin of transformation. Belief is not a feeling. It is not positive thinking. It is the code that writes your future. Think about it. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb after 1,000 failures because he was lucky. He succeeded because he was wired to believe that failure was part of the blueprint. He didn't say, "I've failed 1,000 times." He said, "I've found 1,000 ways that don't work." That's not talent. That's not intellect. That's programming. When you were a child, someone taught you what to believe. They taught you what was realistic. They told you money doesn't grow on trees. They said don't dream too big. They said play it safe, settle down, stay in your lane. But those same beliefs, they built your cage. And now you wonder why you can't fly. If your inner belief says, "I'm not good enough," then every opportunity will become a threat. Every failure will feel like a death sentence, and every success you achieve will feel like an accident, like a fraud dressed in victory's clothes. You don't rise above your belief system, you rise to meet it. And if your belief system was installed by people who were broke in spirit, broke in vision, or broke in finances, then guess what? That poverty didn't stop at their wallets. It infected your mind. Until you remove it, until you question it, until you delete it, you will continue to repeat it. Clarity: the mind sees what the eyes cannot. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack clarity. A confused mind stays still, and a still mind drifts. Like a ship without a sail, it obeys the wind and blames the storm. But clarity is a weapon. Clarity cuts through noise, distraction, comparison, and fear. When you're clear on your vision, resistance becomes background music. You don't ask, "How long will it take?" You ask, "How far can I go?" Walt Disney didn't build an empire because he was good at drawing. He built it because he could see things no one else could. He was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. That didn't change his clarity. That didn't blur his vision. He saw castles in swamplands. He saw joy where others saw cartoons. He saw empires where others saw risk. That's clarity. So let me ask you, are you moving forward or just moving? Do you have a vision or just goals? Because a goal is a wish with no skeleton, but a vision, a real soul-carved vision. That's a command to the universe. That's when life moves out of your way because your mind no longer asks for permission. Discipline: the fire that forges self-mastery. Here's the harsh truth. Most people won't change because it's easier to suffer consistently than to succeed inconveniently. Success demands pain, but it's chosen pain. The kind of pain that makes your foot. You weren't born for routine. You weren't designed to wake, work, scroll, and sleep until your soul forgets it has wings. You were made with purpose, and until you reconnect with that purpose, life will always feel like a burden instead of a blessing. Purpose is not found in comfort, it's uncovered in confrontation. Confrontation with your fears, confrontation with your distractions, confrontation with your truth. Andrew Carnegie wasn't driven by money. He was driven by mission. He built steel empires not to get rich, but to become useful, to serve the world with a vision larger than himself. That's what purpose does. It forces you to grow into someone worthy of your dreams. It pushes you past laziness, past excuses, past fear. Because when your purpose is strong, your problems get small. When your why is clear, your how doesn't matter. Without purpose, you'll always need motivation. With purpose, you'll become the fuel. Don't ask life for less problems. Ask for a purpose so powerful, it makes the pain worth it. Because purpose is the only thing that keeps you standing when discipline hurts, when vision blurs, and when belief wavers. Find it, or forever feel the weight of a life unlived. Action. The bridge between thought and reality. Nothing changes until you move. No amount of journaling, scripting, dreaming, or planning can replace action. You don't attract success by thinking about it. You attract success by becoming someone who cannot be ignored. Think of a seed. It can sit in the palm of your hand for decades and never bloom. But the moment you plant it, commit it to growth, it transforms. Your mind works the same way. You've already imagined the life you want. Everything you are, everything you think, everything you do is a product of mental programming, most of which you never chose. The beliefs you live by, the patterns you repeat, the emotions that trigger you, the ceilings that stop you. They were written into your system without your consent, by parents who meant well but never escaped survival, by teachers who confused obedience with intelligence, by a world that trains you to stay small and reward mediocrity with comfort. But let me tell you something. You were not designed for comfort. You were designed to command reality. You are not your programming. You are the programmer. You can choose new thoughts. You can wire new beliefs. You can uninstall every limitation that ever made you feel less than worthy. Because what you tolerate today becomes your identity tomorrow. And what you believe, you become. You don't need more time. You need a new operating system. So if you want to rewire your mind, start here. Challenge everything you've accepted as truth. Speak the life you want before you see it. Visualize your future until your nervous system believes it's real. Take action so bold your old identity has no choice but to die, because once you rewire the code, the world bends to you. The enemy within, defeating the inner critic. It's not your boss, not your debt, not your education or your past. The true enemy is the voice inside your head that says, "You're not ready, you're not enough, you're too late." That voice isn't truth, it's memory. It's the echo of every doubt you've heard since childhood, every failure that never healed, every comparison you made while scrolling through someone else's highlight reel. That voice lives on repetition. It survives because you listen. But what if, for once, you didn't? What if you interrupted that voice with, "I am no longer available for limitations"? What if, instead of fear, you chose faith? Instead of scarcity, you practiced certainty. Instead of playing small, you walked into every room like your existence was divine strategy, because it is. You're not here by accident. You're not dreaming big for no reason. That fire in your chest, it's not delusion, it's direction. And the moment you silence the enemy within, the world outside stops being a battlefield and becomes a blank canvas. Future self, building the person who has it all. Imagine the future version of you, the one who made it, the one who doesn't stress over bills, who walks with unshakable confidence, who speaks with purpose and moves with power. That version of you already exists, not in some distant decade, but in your mind, and the bridge between who you are now and who you're becoming. Choice. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, vision over distraction, action over doubt, you step closer to the person you were born to be. You're not stuck. You're not behind. You're becoming. And when it gets hard, and it will, you remind yourself that you're not here to live another recycled year of almosts. You're here to rebuild your mind from the ground up, to become the architect of your identity, to think thoughts that build, not break, to speak words that manifest, not mute, to take actions that align with the life you see when you close your eyes at 2 a.m. Because until your current habits match your future vision, you're lying to yourself. But the day you decide, truly decide, that who you are no longer fits who you're becoming, that's the day everything starts to shift. The wealth code: riches begin in the mind. Let's talk about money, because too many people avoid it like it's evil. When the truth is, money is neutral. It only amplifies who you are. And most people stay broke not because of their skills, but because of their stories. They've inherited beliefs like, rich people are greedy. Money changes you. Too much success is dangerous. So what happens? They repel wealth, even when they're woe. You will never outperform your identity. You can set goals, make vision boards, read every success book on the shelf, but if deep down you still see yourself as small, as average, as someone who tries but never becomes, then you'll sabotage every win before it even starts. Because your identity is the thermostat of your life. It regulates what you allow, what you tolerate, what you reach for, and what you settle for. You think you need more discipline? You don't. You need a new identity, a new story about who you are, because the mind will always fight to stay consistent with who it believes you to be. If you believe you're lazy, you'll sabotage your progress the moment momentum starts. If you believe you're not a leader, you'll shy away from opportunities that require presence. If you believe success is for others, you'll remain a spectator in your own life. But here's the truth. Your identity is not fixed. It's chosen. It's wired into you by repetition, by emotion, by what you say about yourself when no one's listening. You are not shy. You've been rehearsing shyness for years. You are not a procrastinator. You've been reinforcing delay because fear told you action was dangerous. You are not stuck. You're just loyal to an old version of yourself that's afraid of being powerful. Change your identity and you change your destiny. Stop saying, "I'm just not that kind of person." Start saying, "I'm becoming the kind of person who does this every single day." You don't need proof to believe it. You need belief to create the proof. Because all transformation begins with this sentence: that's no longer who I am. Environment, the silent sculptor of your mindset. You want to change your life? Look at your environment. Your habits are not just about willpower. They're about proximity. You can't plant a seed in poison and expect it to bloom. Most people stay stuck because their environment supports their excuses. They surround themselves with people who normalize mediocrity, validate fear, and celebrate comfort. They keep their goals trapped inside a space designed for survival. But success? Success requires a greenhouse. You need light, truth, awareness, clarity. You need water, constant action, even when it feels invisible. You need protection from voices that plant doubt and harvest distraction. When Steve Jobs was building Apple, he didn't hang around people who said, "Be realistic." He surrounded himself with minds that breathed possibility. When Oprah decided to own her voice, she didn't ask permission from people still stuck in silence. She changed rooms. And sometimes, so must you. Your environment isn't just your friends. It's your music, your social feeds, your calendar, your bedroom, your thoughts. Clean it, curate it, guard it like your future depends on it. Because it does. You can't grow when you're still rooted in the soil that made you small. Standards, the boundaries that build freedom. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. People say they want success, but their standards scream otherwise. They tolerate late nights with no purpose. They tolerate friendships that drain their soul. They tolerate habits that erode their confidence. Let me be clear. Your life is not the result of what you wish for. It is the result of what you accept. Raise your standards, and you raise your life. Not through force, but through alignment. If your standard is health, you don't negotiate with junk food. If your standard is wealth, you don't waste time on distractions. If your standard is impact, you don't water yourself down to make others comfortable. Look at anyone who commands their life. They have non-negotiables, not because they're rigid, but because they're committed. It's easy to say, I want to be great. It's harder to say, I will no longer tolerate average in any form. But that's the difference between a life you like and a life you're proud of. If it costs wise, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something matters more than fear. Because fear will never leave you. It just changes shape. And if you wait for fear to vanish before you move, you'll die waiting. The truth is, every great transformation began with someone who was scared and moved anyway. When Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, she wasn't fearless. She was fed up with silence, fed up with compromise, fed up with obeying rules written by cowards. That's courage. Courage says, I see the risk and I rise anyway. I feel the pressure and I speak anyway. I don't know the outcome, but I trust who I'm becoming. You will never reach your highest self by staying in the safest room. There will be ridicule, there will be judgment, there will be failure. But those are signs that you are alive, that you are growing, that you are interrupting average, and average hates to be interrupted. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you made decisions from courage instead of comfort? Would you finally speak your truth? Would you leave that job that numbs your soul? Would you launch that business, write that book, chase that vision? If the answer is yes, then stop waiting. The fear will always be there, but so will the fire. Choose the fire. Persistence, the discipline of champions. Everyone wants to win, but only a few are willing to repeat what it takes. Success is boring. It's not glamour. It's not fireworks. It's doing the same high-value actions day after day when no one is clapping. That's what persistence is. It's not energy. It's not excitement, it's loyalty to your vision. When Sylvester Stallone wrote Rocky, he was broke. He was rejected over 1,500 times. He sold his dog just to survive. But he refused to sell his script unless he played the lead role. That was persistence. That was obsession with the outcome. And because of that, he changed cinema history. Persistence doesn't guarantee an easy path. It guarantees an inevitable result, if you refuse to give up. The problem is most people quit too early, not because they lack talent, but because they never trained their mind to stay long enough to break through the plateau, long enough to outlast the doubt, long enough to let their skills compound into greatness. You don't need new goals. You need more time in the fire. Stay there, even when it burns, because pressure is not your punishment. It's your proof. Focus. The superpower of the successful. Distraction is not just stealing your time, it's stealing your life. Every scroll, every unnecessary notification, every gossip-filled conversation, all of it pulls you away from your future. Focus is the new wealth, because the person who can control their attention controls their direction. Think about it. Every genius, every empire builder, every high achiever, they all had one thing in common: singular focus. Nikola Tesla didn't split his attention. He locked in. He went deep. He obsessed over one idea until it became a revolution. You must do the same. You cannot become legendary when your energy is scattered. You cannot build something eternal with a mind that resets every 10 seconds. Multitasking is a myth. Busyness is a badge of the lost. Only focus creates impact. So simplify, prioritize, and create a life that makes room for your greatness. Block out time, block out noise, block out people who don't respect your mission. Because every second you give away to nonsense is a second stolen from your legacy. Ownership, the highest form of power. If you want to take control of your life, you must first take ownership of your mind. You cannot blame your way to greatness. You cannot complain your way into success. Ownership means, I am where I am because of me. And that's not defeat. That's freedom. Because if you created it, you can change it. The moment you stop blaming your past, your family, the ego, every building was a sketch before it became steel. Every masterpiece was a vision before it was painted. And every extraordinary life? It was first imagined in silence. Visualization isn't make-believe. It's mental rehearsal. It's neurological training. It's programming the mind to recognize opportunity before it appears. The world calls it dreaming. The elite call it strategy. When Jim Carrey was broke and sleeping in his car, he wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered, dated it, visualized it, and carried it in his wallet. Years later, he was paid that exact amount for Dumb and Dumber. Coincidence? No. Clarity. Visualization is more than seeing, it's feeling. It's closing your eyes and commanding every cell in your body to believe, this is who I am becoming. But most people use their imagination to rehearse fear. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I'm not enough? Your subconscious listens, and it obeys. It doesn't care whether the picture is beautiful or terrifying. It builds what you feed it. So feed it power, feed it certainty, feed it visions of a future so magnetic that your current life feels like a warm-up round. You are not building with your hands alone, you're building with your mind. Every day, rehearse the life you were born for, until reality catches up. Momentum, the physics of high achievement. The hardest step is not the 10th, it's the first, because motion creates momentum, and once you're moving, inertia fights for you, not against you. But here's the lie. I'll wait until I feel ready. Let me tell you, readiness is a myth. It's a delay tactic wrapped in logic. You don't need readiness. You need movement. When a plane takes off, 90% of its fuel is used just getting off the ground. Not cruising, lifting. Your journey is no different. The first day will feel heavy. The first habits will feel unnatural. The first conversations will feel uncomfortable. But keep moving, because the laws of physics don't lie. An object in motion stays in motion. And the person who keeps showing up becomes unstoppable. Don't aim for perfection, aim for rhythm, aim for consistency. Because mastery doesn't belong to the fastest starter, it belongs to the longest continuer. And if you stay in motion long enough, the world starts moving around you. That's momentum. Mental repetition, the secret that carves belief into bone. The mind learns by repetition. Not intensity, not motivation. Repetition. Why do you remember songs you don't like? Because you heard them 300 times. Why do you still carry beliefs from childhood? Because they were repeated daily, even when they were wrong. Your current mindset isn't the result of logic. It's the result of loops that play over and over telling you what you can and cannot do. But here's the magic. You can create new loops. Every affirmation, every visualization, every intentional thought. Every single one is a rep, a curl for the brain. And just like the gym, you don't see results from one set. You see results from daily reps, done long after they feel boring. So speak it, even when you don't believe it. Especially when you don't believe it. I am powerful. I am the architect of my reality. I am wealthy in every way. I am attracting people, resources, and ideas that accelerate my purpose. Say it again, and again, and again, until your subconscious gets tired of resisting and starts obeying. You don't become who you want to be. You become who you repeat yourself to be. The new normal, elevating your internal standard. Here's a truth most won't tell you. The moment you raise your internal standard, the world recalibrates around you. People treat you based on what you accept. Life pays you based on what you expect. And your outcomes reflect what you've normalized. So the question is, what have you been calling normal that is actually destroying your potential? Is it normal to wake you